In the depths of a forgotten village nestled between the whispers of ancient forest and the shadows of crumbling mountains, there lived a mysterious figure known only as the Shadow Weaver. Few had seen this enigmatic being, but the tales of its existence were woven into the very fabric of the village's folklore. The Shadow Weaver was said to possess the ability to manipulate darkness and light, crafting tapestries that told stories of the past, present, and future. The village of Ashwood was a place of eerie silence, where the wind carried the whispers of the dead and the trees seemed to lean in, as if listening to the conversations of the living. It was a place where the veil between the worlds was thin, and the Shadow Weaver was its guardian. One stormy night, a young woman named Elara stumbled upon the village. She was a traveler, a seeker of truth and knowledge, and the stories of the Shadow Weaver had drawn her to Ashwood. As she entered the village, she felt an inexplicable pull, as if the shadows themselves were guiding her towards the Weaver's abode. The villagers, wary of outsiders, warned Elara of the dangers of seeking out the Shadow Weaver. They spoke of the Weaver's power to manipulate reality, to weave darkness into the fabric of one's soul. But Elara was undeterred, driven by a burning curiosity and a sense of purpose. As she approached the Shadow Weaver's dwelling, the storm raging around her, she felt a strange sensation, as if the very fabric of reality was shifting. The door creaked open, inviting her into the Weaver's lair. Inside, Elara found the Shadow Weaver hunched over a loom, threads of darkness and light dancing in its hands. The Weaver's face was obscured by a hood, and its voice was like the rustling of dry leaves. "Why have you come, Elara?" the Shadow Weaver asked, its voice low and mysterious. "I seek knowledge," Elara replied, her voice steady. "I want to understand the secrets of the universe, to unravel the mysteries of life and death." The Shadow Weaver chuckled, a dry, mirthless sound. "You seek knowledge, but are you prepared to pay the price? The threads of darkness are not for the faint of heart." Elara hesitated, but her desire for knowledge drove her forward. "I'm willing to pay the price," she said, her voice firm. The Shadow Weaver nodded, its hood bobbing up and down. "Very well, Elara. Let us weave a tapestry of your destiny. But be warned, once the threads are woven, they cannot be unraveled." As the Shadow Weaver began to weave, the threads of darkness and light intertwined, forming a pattern that seemed to shift and writhe like a living thing. Elara felt herself becoming part of the tapestry, her memories and experiences woven into the fabric of the Shadow Weaver's art. The storm raged on outside, but inside the Weaver's lair, time seemed to stand still. Elara watched in awe as the tapestry took shape, revealing secrets of the universe, mysteries of life and death, and the threads of her own destiny. But as the tapestry neared completion, Elara began to feel a creeping sense of dread. The threads of darkness seemed to be growing stronger, weaving a pattern of doom and despair. She tried to pull away, but the Shadow Weaver's power was too great. The tapestry was finished, and Elara felt herself trapped within its threads. She saw visions of a dark future, of a world consumed by shadows, and of her own role in the unfolding drama. The Shadow Weaver spoke, its voice like a sigh of the wind. "The threads of destiny are woven, Elara. You have seen the future, but can you change its course?" Elara stumbled out of the Weaver's lair, the storm having passed but her mind reeling with the visions she had seen. She knew that she had to act, to try and change the course of destiny, but the threads of darkness seemed to be pulling her towards a fate she could not escape. As she walked away from the village, Elara felt the Shadow Weaver's presence behind her. She turned to see the Weaver standing in the doorway, its hood thrown back, revealing eyes that burned like stars in the darkness. "The tapestry is not yet complete," the Shadow Weaver said. "The threads of your destiny are still being woven. Will you be the one to unravel the darkness, or will you succumb to its power?" Elara knew that she had a choice to make. She could try to change the course of destiny, to weave a new pattern of light and darkness, or she could surrender to the power of the shadows, allowing the darkness to consume her. The fate of the world, and her own, hung in the balance. Elara steeled herself for the journey ahead, knowing that she would have to face as Elara walked. Away from the village, she felt the weight of the Shadow Weaver's words settling upon her. She knew that she had to make a choice, to decide whether to try and change the course of destiny or to succumb to the power of the shadows. She spent many days and nights pondering the question, seeking guidance from the whispers of the wind and the ancient wisdom of the trees. And as she walked, the landscape around her began to shift and change, reflecting the turmoil within her own heart. One day, as she stood at the edge of a great precipice, staring out into the void, she saw a figure standing before her. It was the Shadow Weaver, its eyes burning with an otherworldly intensity. "The time of choice is upon you, Elara," the Shadow Weaver said. "Will you weave a new pattern, one of light and hope, or will you surrender to the darkness, allowing it to consume you?" Elara took a deep breath, steeling herself for the decision ahead. She knew that she could not change the course of destiny alone, but she also knew that she could not give up. She thought of all the people she loved, all the lives that would be touched by the darkness if she failed. With a newfound determination, Elara reached out and took the threads of darkness from the Shadow Weaver's hands. She began to weave a new pattern, one of light and hope, of resilience and courage. The threads seemed to writhe and twist in her hands, resisting her efforts, but she held firm. As she wove, the landscape around her began to change. The darkness receded, and the light of the setting sun broke through the clouds. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers and the sound of birds singing in the distance. The Shadow Weaver watched her, its eyes gleaming with a mixture of curiosity and approval. "You are a true weaver of destiny, Elara," it said. "Your threads are strong and your heart is pure." When Elara finished weaving, she held up the tapestry, and the Shadow Weaver nodded in approval. "The course of destiny has been altered," it said. "The darkness will still come, but it will be tempered by the light of hope. You have changed the pattern, Elara, and for that, you will be remembered for generations to come." And with that, Elara knew that she had made a difference. She had changed the course of destiny, and in doing so, had saved countless lives. She felt a sense of pride and accomplishment, knowing that she had faced her fears and overcome them. The Shadow Weaver spoke once more, its voice barely above a whisper. "The tapestry of destiny is ever-changing, Elara. You have woven a new pattern, but the threads will continue to shift and evolve. Remember, the power to shape destiny lies within you, and the choices you make will determine the course of the future." Elara nodded, understanding the weight of the Shadow Weaver's words. She knew that she would continue to face challenges and make difficult choices, but she was ready. She had learned the power of her own strength and the importance of weaving her own destiny. And so, Elara walked away from the Shadow Weaver's lair, ready to face whatever lay ahead. She knew that the road would be long and difficult, but she was determined to follow the path she had chosen, weaving a new pattern of light and hope one thread at a time.